Washington. How you doing, everybody? It's the 24th of May, 2011. Got a couple memories today of my childhood. When I was a kid, I lived in the Philadelphia area, as you can see here. There's Philadelphia, that big yellow blob. Okay, and we moved to originally Pennsauken, which was around here. And then we moved up to, oh, it's hard doing it backwards like this, Willingboro, which is up here. Now, Willingboro was actually right near the 1210 WCAU transmitter. It's right up there in Burlington County. And then we moved to the south. This was about 68. We moved all the way down here to a place called Woodbury. Okay? Woodbury, which is right there. Woodbury is just south of Philly in the Jersey suburbs. In fact, there was a hill in Woodbury where you could look up and you could see all the buildings in Center City. So it was a very low area, but you could look right over there. We were right across from the Philadelphia airport, which is right here, so all the jets would be flying over all the time. But we got really good radio reception here, particularly on the AM stations. And I was noticing, as a kid, we would drive down from wherever we went into Philly. We'd come down the bridge here and then come around Route 295. And right around here, we would always pass a tower. There's a couple radio towers there, and it said WIP, and there's a little shack at the base of the tower. And I thought that was kind of interesting. And my dad always listened to, my mom and dad always listened to WIP a lot. And I punched it up on Google Maps here, and where the little A is there. Whoa, there we go. Where the little A is there is where the WIP tower, and it still is in the same place. 6:10 a.m. It was a Metro Media station back then, and as you can see on the map here, we would come across the bridge here, come down the freeway, hit 295 through 130, come down here, and then get off at Thoroughfare, and our house was down in here somewhere. But anyhow, we'd always go right past this, and I always thought the little transmitter shack, there it is, at the base of 610 WIP, well, I thought that was their studios. And as a little kid, I would actually think that all the musicians would get in cars, drive into this little, field, and get in line at the shack there at the base of the transmitter and go in and do their songs and then come away. That's when I was a little kid. That's what I thought. And didn't realize, the studio's in Center City, Philly, and that's just the transmitter site. But anyhow, that was WIP back when it was a Metro Media station. It had a format very similar to WASH, which is our station. Things happen to people who listen to Radio 610 Metropolitan Area. And that, of course, was about the same time I remember driving past the transmitter site there. And here's another cool one. My time is the right time to listen and enjoy. Colorful WIP. So sit back and relax in pajamas or slacks and take it easy with WIP. Cause my time is the right time to listen and enjoy. Colorful songs, color radio. Now, WIP at the time was owned by Metro Media, which again owned a bunch of stations. They owned WASH in Washington, and they owned WMMR in Philly, and they owned a bunch of WCBM in Baltimore. So they had their adult contemporary kind of full service adult contemporary sound, and that was on Philly's 610 WIP. They had it on WASH here in Washington, 97.1, and on Baltimore's WCBM 680. Really cool format. I wasn't a big listener. I mean, I remember I listened to the station because my parents were always listening to it. I was a big fan of 56 WFIL and 99 Wibbage, which were top 40 stations. So anyhow, we left Philly In 1972, my dad got transferred to Washington. He was working for Xerox at the time, and so that's when we moved down to Washington. And goodbye, WIP. Hello, PGC. PGC, I guess, was PGC and Wheel and Ween were the stations I listened to back when we first got down here. The problem is living in Reston, which was about 15 miles west of Washington. It was really hard to get the AM stations at night. So you could hear Ween 1390 really cool during the day, and Winks and all the other stations. WRC had some cool formats, but at night they were really hard to hear. And I think I could still hear Wheel, which was 1310 out of Fairfax, which had a pretty good signal into Reston. But eventually I just said, hey, you know what? There's Top 40 radio on FM 95.5. And so I very soon became a huge PGC fan. So, yeah. Big news today. Some management changes over there at Clear Channel. Clear Channel DC has announced that Thea Mitchem will replace Hartley Adkins as the new market manager for the Washington Baltimore market. So that's going to be interesting. Thea's been there since 2008. I forget when Hartley came in. He replaced Dave Pugh. Remember, Dave Pugh went out to San Francisco, and then Dave Pugh's no longer in San Francisco anyhow. But anyhow, I have to say, we heard a lot of stormy relationship stories about Hartley and maybe getting into some fisticuffs there at the Rockville office there of Clear Channel. But you have to say, during Hartley's tenure of a couple years there, Clear Channel has had 5 FM stations, and they've all pretty much been top 10 performers on a regular basis. Wash is always in the top 10. DC 101 is usually in the top 10. Big kind of falls in and out of the top 10. MZQ lately has been doing really well, and Hot 99.5 is always a top 10 performer. So you got to say with Clear Channel, okay, maybe they don't have the greatest radio stations in the world, but they do perform well. And I believe it was under Hartley's, or maybe it was under Dave Pugh's. I'm not quite sure which of the guys was in charge when Clear Channel sold off its 3 AMers. Remember, they used to have 980, 570, and 1260. They sold off the 3, so they went down from 8 stations in the immediate metro area to 5 stations. So that was probably a good move to ditch the AM or ditch the FMers. And the other thing that Clear Channel's done that some of the other radio companies haven't done is they've pretty much merged their Washington-Baltimore operations. Thea Mitchem and Hartley Adkins run the Washington and Baltimore clusters, okay? So that includes POC, QSR, Z1043, and CAO up in Baltimore. Most of the other broadcasters that have stations in both markets have them totally separate. When you look at CBS's Baltimore operations are completely separate from CBS's DC operations. And it's ditto with Radio 1 and some of the other companies that have ownership in both markets. So, but Clear Channel has pretty much merged the two. So, interesting. I do like DC 101. DC 101. I really think at the moment it ain't the best station in the world, but I think DC 101 is probably the best damn rocker in the market. They do play some cool stuff. So anyhow, by the way, Hartley, as we reported a week or two ago, he's not leaving Clear Channel. He's just going to be their senior vice president for their Southeast region. So he'll probably be Thea Mitchem's boss still. But she moves up and he moves up. So anyhow, so we shall see it'll be interesting to see who becomes operations manager now, taking Thea's position there at Clear Channel DC there on Rockville Pikey. The other big news, Cindy Simpson. The rumors are that she's going to get bounced from the 5 p.m. news on Channel 7, WJLA to the mornings. Channel 7's 5 o'clock newscast does pretty well, but their morning newscasts are struggling, so maybe she'll bring a little life to those things. We shall see. Rush Limbaugh's ratings are sagging. Apparently, Arbitron, the Columbia, Maryland ratings firm, is reporting that Limbaugh's numbers are down 33% since October. I don't think Limbaugh's terribly concerned about it, but, he gets on the radio like he's this big pompous windbag, and that's pretty much what he is, a big pompous windbag. All right, folks, just to want to remind you, Dave, DCRTV Plus, really got a great deal from now to the end of May. $29 gets you 2 friggin' years of DCRTV Plus. We really need your donations. You know, business for DCRTV has been great through about early April. Things then slow off around Easter. Easter time till about June is a slow period for us, ad-wise, donation-wise. So, you know, if you've got a couple extra bucks, make a donation to DCRTV. We really could use it. And if it's $29, that's 2 years of access to Plus, which has got a shitload of cool nostalgia for the DC Metro, Baltimore Metro, and even some stuff from Northeast Philly and New York there. Lots of pictures, graphics, jingles, video clips, station histories, you name it. All right, folks, that's Dave TV for today, the 24th. I just downloaded Microsoft Explorer 9, and everything's going good so far. Had a few DCRTV looks good in Internet Explorer 9. I'm surprised. Hey, it looks wonderful. All right, folks, have a good one, and don't forget to stay tuned.